to believe, but we're down to our final coaches interview for the Pigskin Preview. 3.5 weeks in a row. We had 2 from Wisconsin 4 weeks ago, and it doesn't seem possible. But right now, we're going to end it with a bang today. Coach Dan Appino from Auburn. And, Coach, we were talking the other day. How many years has it been since you've been at Auburn? Because time does fly by, and it seems like, man, it's hard to believe.
Dave, this will be my 5th year here.
Wow. Is that hard to believe, Coach? It has been that long already?
There are a lot of years the older you get that just seem to roll in and fly by. So, yeah, it's been a quick 5 years.
It's been a great build with the program. I think everybody was real excited about last year, a pretty historic year for Auburn last year. So how do you guys respond to that? Year 5 of the program now. Do you feel like it's established now, or is there still some concerns going into the season?
Well, there's always concerns, when you're trying to build a tradition and a culture and a climate, collectively. It's something that it takes a lot of buy-in, and it's not complete buy-in yet. It's not part of their gene structure yet in terms of football tradition. So, we want kids to accept the idea that we had a great year last year, but that was last year's team, and this new team that we've got this year, they've got to establish their own legacy, and the best way to do that is to try and play at the same level or beyond.
You got that big lineman there. It's committed to Illinois, Vidarian Lowe. How much does it help to have a guy like that? Because, he's kind of one of the guys that, Jawan Parchman, those guys are gone. Is he going to be one of your leaders this year, you think, Coach? Or is he just going to be that big guy goes out there and pounds people a lot?
Well, he's definitely one of those guys. He doesn't say a lot. He just works really hard and stuff. But, he's blessed in that he's got several guys, big guys around him to really push him and make him better. I think we're expecting big years out of kids like Dontario Hanna, who's just been kind of a monster for us in the first 2 weeks of the season, and then Jordan Williams is having a terrific camp, and we've got several guys we think that are going to really push, and Ernest Austin and others that are going to make that big guy not just get complacent with where he's at, but try and develop his game.
I don't know if I'd call last year's defense one of the best I've seen, just when you look at, some of the defenses, especially when you had in your championship seasons there at Boylan. But that was one of the nastiest defenses I ever saw. They would fly to the ball, and they would let you know that they got there. What are you guys looking at this year on the defensive side of the ball?
We don't quite have those high-level strikers that we had last year when we had Juwan and Alfonso. But we do have the big boys up front who hopefully will be able to anchor the line, and we've got a host of guys that we're testing out at the corners and the safety spots, and we think they're going to be really solid. So we think our defense is going to has a chance to be collectively as good, maybe not individually as good, but certainly collectively as good as last year.
One thing that was a big improvement last year was the special teams. I remember the first couple of years, I think you would rather have not had to kick extra points or even think about it. Last year, you had a nice kicker, and he had that big kick in the Hananiga game that kind of kept you in the playoffs a little bit. So it had to have been kind of nice last year. How's the special teams look this year, Coach?
We were blessed last year having Ivan come out from the soccer team and join us, and he really helped us. And this year we've got a couple of guys who are vying for the kicking role. One of them's a pure football guy, Darnell Royal, who also plays basketball and volleyball. And he's coming along pretty well. He doesn't quite yet have the leg that Ivan had coming in. And then we've got a cross-country kid out for us this year, Harrison Brewer. And both those guys are really solid at PATs, and they're starting to develop a sense of what it takes to get a 30-yarder. But again, that's a part of our game we have to work at.
You guys have always had speed at the skill positions. Who are some of the guys you're going to lean on this year to try to get the ball in the end zone?
Well, obviously it all starts with Nathan Jarrett, our quarterback. He's just a gifted kid. He had a great night last night in our black and red scrimmage. So he's a kid who, when he makes good decisions and doesn't force things, he's just nearly impossible to keep corralled back there. He runs really well. He throws well. He's one of the most powerful kids on the team. Quan Bell, our tailback, is another kid that's he's like lightning when he gets a gap, and he's difficult to find when he's running behind those 300-pounders up front. We've got a couple of young guys this year that I think are going to be terrific additions. Klay Thompson, one of our slot receivers, can fly to the ball. Cavassier Jones is back, wide receiver from last year. And Trey Thockwell last year was one of our late additions to the season. He was a kid who was fighting Hodgkin's disease last year, and he joined us for the playoffs, and I think he's going to push there as well.
You know, you talked about your quarterback, Jared. I got a chance to see him at the DeKalb 7-on-7. Did he bulk up? And, man, he really has taken control of what you want him to do. It seems like he feels a lot like a leader and very confident out there, too.
Yeah, I think so. We kind of envision that down the road. He's that type of kid. He's very confident in public and in his group. He's worked himself to the point that he feels very sure about himself as an athlete, strength-wise. But he's always been a really high-character kid and a leader for that class. And you know, he's doing some nice things, I think, to kind of push those guys in a new direction. I think in terms of success.
Hey, you know, obviously you lost a couple of big-time players, but you got a lot of players back, and you guys, you know, lost against a really good team in the playoffs last year, but really, you know, maybe a few bounces away from maybe being a little bit closer in that game than the score might have looked. How does that, you know, motivate them coming into this year to you know, leave their mark on the program and also maybe see if they can't push it a little bit further?
Well, I think playing a team that plays at such a high level like Glenbard West that has so many kids out that, you know, no matter who they put in, and they're definitely probably call it 3 platoon because they have a whole new set of special teams. You know, they go hard on every snap. They're competing just to get on the field, you know, just to exist as football players. They have such pride in that program now, and for our kids, it was kind of a wake-up call, I think, in terms of the level of effort you have to give. So that's driven us the whole off season to try and emulate that in the way we play, and we're not there yet, but we're getting closer. So,
you know, over the years, Coach, you've had great sophomore teams that compete real well. You just haven't had a lot of numbers on those sophomore teams. Is that picking up a little bit at that level?
It's not really this year. We're stable again, but it hasn't really jumped out. I mean, I think kids in our community still recognize that it's a lot of work to be a part of this program.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of off-season commitment, and you know, and I'm happy that our kids play lots of sports, but I think there are a lot of kids that just aren't ready to make that kind of commitment.
You know, you look around the conference, you know, some of the teams that are going to be right up there towards the top when you look at a Hononegah, Harlem, or even yourselves. Is there any team or maybe a couple teams that you're looking at around the conference that you think might surprise people?
Well, I think the traditional teams are going to be really strong again, Hononegah and Harlem. I know Hononegah is switching their offense up, and they've had some gifted kids at the lower level and great numbers, so I would expect that they'll be somebody to watch out for. I know Boylan has some terrific skill kids this year. I think they're going to be vastly improved. It's going to be one of our more even conferences. I think we're going to see good quality games every weekend, competitive games every weekend.
Before we let you go, Coach, you got to be proud as a rooster crowing at 6 o'clock in the morning. Dean Lowry, tell us your thoughts on Dean and being in the NFL now.
Well, I think I said it before. You feel really blessed when one of your kids makes it to that level. You know, a kid who just has all the physical tools, but also has a work ethic that's just out of this world. And then when he gets drafted by the team that you love, it's like a double blessing. So it's been a really neat thing, and we've talked a couple times, and I can't wait to go up and watch him play this year.
I was going to say, have you tried to coach him through a TV screen or anything?
No, I haven't done that. No, he's usually done pretty well as long as I leave him alone. So sometimes you don't want to overcoach kids. So.
Yeah.
And he's a big boy now, too. You don't want to get him too mad, do you, Coach?
No, he's you never worry about that with Dean because he's such a gentleman. You know, he's one of those kids. He's got a motor that switches on and off when he's out on the field. So he's always a lot of fun to talk to. I got to watch him play against Wisconsin last year in a really close game, and we talked after the game, and he's just huge in terms of his frame, and I think that's something that Pat Fitzgerald and those guys at Northwestern could see down the line, that he was going to grow into something special.
Well, thanks, Coach, so much for taking time to be with us this morning. Good luck. Friday night, we kick it off, and we'll keep an eye on those Auburn Knights.
Thanks, Dave. Take care.
We've been talking to Coach Dan Appino at Auburn, and, coaches are real good not letting you know what's going on. They'll be ready.
Oh, yeah, they're going to absolutely be ready.
Yeah. Dan Appino, he's just a class act.
Yep.